Hey guys, what's going on? It's me. I've been gone for 2 weeks since I left, and now I'm back. And well, I'm not back. I'm actually still here. So, living here in Las Cruces has definitely been an experience. I don't want to say I'm getting frustrated with with not working here, but because I'm just so used to saying that about work. It's not that I'm getting it's not that I'm getting frustrated with living here. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this place is really odd and it's really weird. And for whatever reason, I don't know why, but like since I started moving here, even though it's been cold, like my face has just been red, like for the last week that I've been here. Had a coughing fit. I thought I was going to go into anaphylactic shock at the library yesterday, because one thing that happens here that happens somewhat frequently that I was told about is dust storms, or like sand storms, so haboobs, but they last like all day. And it's like a high wind advisory thing where I guess you're not really supposed to go outside when that's happening, but it happens all day and it's just random spurts of it where it happens at every time of the year. So it's like mad inconvenient. So I went out anyways because I was like, well, if it's just a dust storm, like whatever, it's not that big of a deal. I literally could not breathe. And that's like the first time, like I literally felt like my throat like started closing up. And I was trying to tell the librarian, so this is basically what happened. There's like nowhere to put this. So this is basically what happened. Here, I'm just gonna put it right here. So when I went in yesterday, let me just give you my impression of Las Cruces so far. Living in New Mexico, first time for me. The vibe here is pretty weird. It's odd. Everything here is just odd. It's like if you lived in Tucson, but then you dumbed down Tucson, and Tucson's already like dumb. So that's the impression I'm getting here. To give you an example, I'll just talk about the library. So the guy told me, he basically kicked me out of the library 3 days ago, or 2 days ago. Wait, today's Friday. This happened Wednesday. I got kicked out of the library, so today's Friday. Because here in New Mexico, you can't just walk in and just get a library card like how it works in Phoenix. They have to basically, you got to give proof of residency in order to get a library card. So, which is what I had to do. Thankfully, I had new mail that has my new address on it, or like my temporary address. And so when I ended up doing that, the impression I get here is that things are just not efficient and things don't go fast. Like, it's just, I'm not saying like the time when I went to New York kind of thing. I'm not saying that. It's just in Phoenix, you're just expected to just go quick with things, and everything is just supposed to go evenly. I mean, well, that's the expectation, but that's just kind of like the vibe in Phoenix, is that it's very high tech. It's very, people just kind of know what they're doing for the most part. I mean, the one thing that's been nice about this place is there's not nearly as many drug addicts here, or like people that are like mental cases, like nut cases. There's just like, there's maybe like one homeless person every other street kind of thing. Like it's definitely not nearly as bad as Phoenix. But when you try to do anything here, it's just people here just kind of like slow. And I don't know if it's like a cultural thing or the average IQ here is like lesser than normal. So the guy told me I had to come back. You got to come back and you have to prove residency in order to get a library card. And I thought, okay, I was like, why? But okay. So I've been doing that a lot, like since I got here this week, just saying why do I have to do this? Why are things going like this? Why aren't you doing it? Like, it's a lot of that here, where people are just like, people here kind of talk like donkeys. They just say nah, and instead of like just talking normally and being like, you know, just being respectful and polite, like a lot of people just like grunt at each other and go huh like that. Like, I don't know if it's just a cultural thing, like I just said, or people, that's just how they are. To me, it's annoying, but because it's like, dude, when you leave your house, you need to carry yourself a certain way. That's how, I'm not saying I was raised like that, but, you know, in Phoenix, you kind of just have to, you know, my head's kind of on a swivel. I don't know, maybe it's just because of the amount of danger over there and whatnot, you know, just because living in a big metropolis, that's, you know, that's just how we did things there. But here, it's just not a thing. So I came back the next day to the public library, the government library, and then it was a different guy. And so I handed him paperwork that I pre-filled out, because I filled it out at home, and then gave him another, like my ID or something like that. And the guy just kept saying over and over again, you caught me off guard. I didn't expect you to get this done so quickly. And it's like, but the other guy, so there's a lot of illogic here in Las Cruces. There's like a lot of dumb people here that just don't, there is no flow of common sense here. So I can see why, after I looked at on Google, when my friend was telling me last week that 90% of all the residents in the entirety of New Mexico lives on Medicare, Medicaid. Like, just, I don't know if it's just lack of ambition, where you're just being lazy, or you're genuinely too stupid to work, or there's no jobs, because that's another thing that I've got the impression of living here in Las Cruces. There's no work. It's completely the opposite of when I was living in Phoenix, because when you get security jobs, like I literally went to a temp agency job that I didn't know was a temp agency at the time. They took my information right then and there, and then I was on the job site the next day while the drug test was being processed, while the background was being processed. Here, everything's backwards and there's no work. Every time you click on anything for work here. So here's another thing. I went down to the temp agency, and when I kept telling them over and over again, I need a temporary job, they did not know what I was talking about. But my wife was explaining to me it's a staffing agency. Either way, it's temp work. So what does it matter? How do you not know what I'm talking about? So anyways, thankfully I got a job. So, sorry, I had to open the door here. So thankfully I got a job. Well, hopefully. I got a security job that's in between job, as I'm waiting for the jail job to for me to go the next step as a part of getting employment there. But like, dude, like, why is my face so red? I got raccoon eyes too. Anyways, I don't know, dude. The air here is not good. This whole city needs an air purifier, because at any given time I'm outside, I just feel this tickle in the back of my throat here because of the updraft of the wind. Because there's so much, like, someone was explaining this to me the other day, like there's so much loose sand and soil here in New Mexico that it goes frequently into the air. And I think I was just explaining that at the beginning of the video. I'm sorry, like I'm tired. I went to a random road, which is another thing that has been really annoying about living here, is that, so when you use Google, because it's just common use to use, sorry, someone's coming over here. I'm at the Kohl's because I don't know where else to go. But anyways, so so yeah, GPS. It's just kind of common use that you would just use your GPS, your Google GPS, to just get around, or your Waze app or whatever. People here do not use that. And I'm starting to see why, because when it's probably like 30% of the time, maybe 40% of the time when I type in an address, it's taking me to places where roads don't exist, or the road is just it's like a gravelly dirt road where you would only be able to use like a dirt bike on it or something like that, or like a small ATV. Because that's what happened to me like a half hour ago. I was in some area where I was on this dirt road, and then when it told me to turn, there was no road to turn to. So that's happened like a couple times already, where I use Google and it says, okay, you're here, and it's like, there's nothing here. So people don't, Google's not here. They don't do the updates as to, okay, well, this leads to this, and if this isn't here and it doesn't exist, it should be removed on Google, and it's just not, because people don't use GPS here. It's just, here's the thing. If you know that people are coming from different areas of the U.S. to come move here, especially other areas in the Southwest, why would you not make it more inviting to people that want to move here, instead of everything just being this secret where you got to know someone to know someone? Like, it's just like, dude, it's so weird. Like, it's so odd here. It's so weird. I got to plug this back in. It's getting hot. But yeah, I'm not saying this place is a dump either. I'm not exactly saying that. It kind of is, but it's kind of not. Sorry, I don't know if I should just take off my jacket. I'm using my other car here, so I have nowhere to put this phone. So anyways. All right. So anyways, yeah, the GPS here does not work that well. So, I mean, I was thinking about like going into Google myself, like maybe when I go to the library or go home or something like that, to start removing things on there on Google, like, you know, sending a message to customer service or something like that, saying like, dude, these places do not exist. Why are they on here as map options, kind of thing. So anyways, I'll fall back now. So yeah, here's another thing about work here in Las Cruces. It kind of doesn't exist. I seriously have this one thing right here, and everything here is by paper. Like, you have to fill everything out on papers here. People don't text. They don't, like, when you fill out an application, I mean, a lot of it is online, sort of, but basically people are kind of just stuck in the 90s here. Oh my God, dude, the air is so dry. I feel like I'm like running out of speech or something. Okay, let's take a step back for a minute. I'm not going to start getting angry. It's just the air here. That's another thing I've noticed. It's so dry. Like, I don't know, dude. But I'm starting to like feel that thing in my throat where like I'm getting hoarse a little bit. Anyways, so okay, so what's another complaint? Because I lost my train of thought. Yeah, that was the job. So here's another thing that happens here in Las Cruces, is that if you look for work online, you're not going to find it. So after I went to the temp agency, they said to fill out this, they printed out papers, and it was a step-by-step instructions on the paper saying this is what you do in order to go find a job. And it was basically it was a tiny call center in there. So what I ended up doing was I just went to a random coffee house that I found around here and started making my profile, and it took seriously like 20 minutes because they need to like get all this information. It's like why? There's a lot of why am I doing this here in Cruces? Like, why are these steps here? Just give me the job. Why do we need to do this? You run a background check and then you run a drug test. It's like what David Lynch said in that episode of Louie. Where's the mystery? Just make it happen, dude. Make it make sense. So I go on there as I'm, I sit there and it takes like 20, 25 minutes. I fill out all the information. By the time it's done, it's just links to Indeed and Glassdoor. That's all the staffings. It's called American Staffing something, but I don't know. It was called American Staffing Services or something like that. I don't remember. But so when I went on there, it's basically just Indeed, but through their website. And it was a bunch of weird questions like, are you homeless? Are you currently addicted to drugs? Like all this kind of stuff. Like, dude, what is this, dude? Just give me a job. So when I finally got everything ready, when I was going to the library yesterday, and I had this like anaphylactic shock to where I felt like my throat was closing for a second. Keep in mind, this has never happened to me before. I ended up, I was like whispering, I need water to the guy who was taking forever to just give me a library card. It should just be like this, quick, like 30 seconds. But here, everything takes forever. When you go to restaurants, like when you're looking for work, when you're talking to someone, basically with any service here in cruises, it takes forever. Like they just don't know what they're doing here or something like that. So anyways, I went and got water in front, and then I came back in. He said, okay, well, here's your library card. Like after like 15 minutes, then I sat down with my computer and I found a desk, and then, so I'm getting lightheaded. So, what happens is that, I run into this guy who works as security at the library. So I thought, okay, this has got to be a government job because this is a government building, like it, it's a library. So found out it's not. It is a rover agency, a security agency that's unarmed. So basically most of what I've done. So I was like, okay, cool, that's cool. So when I was on the computer looking for work, I went and stopped him because he was on patrol and asked the guy like, hey, like, are you guys hiring? And he explained everything, and he said, yeah, when it comes to work here, because he was like, I told him, oh, yeah, I'm from Phoenix. And so the guard, he was dressed like a police officer, which was kind of weird because in Phoenix, the rules are you can't do that. And it can't be two solid colors. Like you can't have black on black. It has to be like one's got to be black and one's got to be white, or one's got to be earth tone pants with a black shirt. Here, you can, if you're security, like unarmed security, here you're allowed to dress like a police officer. So I was like, all right. So anyways, because that's what he looked like. And so I was asking about the job, and then I told him I'm from Phoenix, and he was like, how much you make over there? And I was like, well, when I was a shift lead, I made 20. But the current job I just came from at the psych hospital, I was making 19. And he was like, you guys make that much up there? And I was, for unarmed? And I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, that's actually a pretty normal over there to make that much. And he was like, I'm going to tell you the truth. He said, here in New Mexico, the max you're going to make, even as a supervisor, is probably like 16 an hour. He said, right now I make 15. And I was like, I just need a temporary job. I need a 40-hour-a-week job until this other job starts. So I was like, oh, I don't care. I'll apply anyways. So, yeah, so he gave me the address. He said, go to this place. It's literally up the street from here. That is one thing that's really convenient about living in Las Cruces, is that everything here is within a radius of like 15 minutes. So if you want to go anywhere, you're not going to drive past 20 minutes to get anywhere here. Mostly everything is like within 10 minutes. So like everything here, which is super convenient, and the traffic is really nice for the most part. Like the traffic is really easy here. It's not like how crazy it is in Tempe and Phoenix and stuff like that. I'm sorry, like my throat keeps getting dry. Anyways, so I went and found okay, so this is the next step, which was another thing which confused me. I left the library and I went to the security job. Right when I parked, without them asking about my credentials or anything, because I already have a card. It's just with the state of Arizona, not here in New Mexico. I came in. The woman said, "How can I help you?" with the security desk. And I said, "Yeah, I'm looking for employment." She gave me the piece of paper that I just showed on the camera here. I'm sorry, my phone's getting hot now. So, anyways, okay, I'm getting like genuinely frustrated at this point. I don't know, dude, this is a brand new phone. Like, how is the battery already getting hot on this? Like, anyways, so I said I need employment. She goes in the back, she brings out that piece of paper. She says, fill out the front and back on here, show 5 years of work experience on here. Just fill out your basic information with 2 references. She said, even if you haven't even worked in the last 5 years, it's whatever, just turn it in anyways and like you'll get work. So then she said, you're going to go to the police station up the street. You need to go get a piece of paper from them, come back and give us these 2 pieces of paper, give the paper back. And I said, oh, you want me to go to the police station? And she said, yeah, you need to go there next. And I was like, okay. So I went, drove to the police station. I went in there and I told the guy, the woman gave me this piece of paper. She said, I need to talk to you guys. The guy did not know what I was talking about. So he said, oh, you probably need records. That's window 2. That's over there. So I went over there and she said, so I showed the paper and said, a security company told me to come here, because she didn't explain it. And so, like, why am I there? And then, so the woman said, you probably need a background check. Do you want to do that? And I said, yes. Like, why would I do my own background check? And I've never been to a job ever where they had me do my own background check. Like, I kept thinking, like, dude, what is this? So why don't you people do it? So anyways, what happens is she said, it's going to be $3. Come back Monday at 8. That's what the officer told me. And I said, okay. She said, you need to fill out the information that is posted on your driver's license. And I said, I haven't lived at this place on my driver's license. I haven't lived there in like 10 years. Dude, I've lived at like 6 different places since what was on my driver's license. She said, you have to put it on there on the paper for us to do the background check. Okay. My driver's license states that I lived in Tucson. I haven't lived in Tucson since 2019. So, whatever, dude. So, I just did what I was told. Didn't make any sense to me, but whatever. So, she said, come back Monday at 8. Come pick. And then she gave me a paper receipt. She said, you need to bring this receipt back. And once you give it to us, we can give you the background check paperwork. Then you can go hand it into the security company. Okay. So, like, I don't understand why there's so many extra steps. Why am I doing this? Why is nothing being explained to me? Why is everything going so slow here? It's why? Just get it done. Just be efficient. Just do what I'm telling you to do. Because in Phoenix, it's just like this. It just goes quick. For the most part of, like, most of everything you do there. But it's like I just said here, everything's backwards. Everything's slow and tedious and takes time. Oh, and that was the other thing. So when you go on Indeed, there's like 7 jobs, 10 jobs. Like if you look at security and even like other things on there, there's only like, I think with jobs that are non-government, there was like 50 postings. But and this is going out like 35 miles from here. And then if you go on the government site, there's only like 15 jobs. And most of them are lawyers, like public defendants. So there's no work here. It's a attitude my wife was telling me here. Not an attitude, but it's kind of like a way of life. You got to know someone to get a job kind of thing. It's like everything's like family business here or something. But anyways, so because everything you click on with Indeed is people don't use Indeed, even though that was the other thing, because I applied to work at the hospital here. Security officer open job. So I applied 3 weeks ago on Indeed. They never got back to me, and the job is still there on Indeed when I checked 2 days ago. It's still there. I called the hospital and say, can I speak to the supervisor of security so I can get an interview? I get transferred over. I speak to one of the security officers, like the regular ones. He says, call back tomorrow morning to speak to the supervisor. I call back tomorrow morning. The guy with that donkey attitude, and this has happened a couple times on the phone here with these people. I said, so I'm looking for employment. I put on an application on Indeed. It says you guys received it, but I haven't heard anything back. Is there a possibility I could get an interview because I'm looking for employment? The guy said on the phone, huh? And I said, I applied on Indeed, and I was looking to get employment. You guys are hiring a security officer? Are you the supervisor? And he said, nah, I don't do that. And I said, okay. And he said, you gotta wait. He said, you gotta wait for HR. And I said, is there a possibility you could transfer me to HR and I could speak to them? And he said, you don't call them, they call you. And I said, okay. And then he hung up. That's happened to me 4 times on the phone with not just this hospital, but with different healthcare jobs and different security jobs. This is the first job where the woman gave me this paper where she wasn't talking like an idiot. So I literally explained it. It was like every time you ask, and this happened at the temp agency, this is like 90% of my interactions. When I talk to someone, it's like I ask them to do an algebra problem or something like that. Like, what? How are you not I literally explained what is happening to you, and you don't get it. Why are you not understanding? I'm literally explaining what I want to you, and you're still like, I don't know, maybe it's just most of the people here like below 100 IQ. I'm going to take a guess and say the average IQ here is between 85 to 90. That's the impression I'm getting here. Because like more than half of the people have an accent here. And, you know, the whole talking like mules kind of thing. I mean, there was a couple normal people that I talked to, but they were even going slow with things. Like, it's just a lot of ditzy, like, mindset here. Like, a lot of, so I don't know how to help you. I don't know. Like, it's a lot of that here. A lot of retards. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pros, a lot of cons. I mean, once I get the job that I want, the government job that I'm praying, you know, guys, please pray for me. Hopefully I get this job at the, jail. So, because once that happens and I can just get through the process, which the process of the polygraph and getting through the 150 question test was like super easy. So I'm praying that it just continues to be a smooth process. Once I get that, everything is just going to start falling into place at that point. It's just, people are just really, really behind the times here. The vibe here with like fashion and clothing and how people talk and stuff like that, it's like if you mix the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and the early 2000s, if you mix them all together. Because people here are like stuck in the 90s, and I thought I would love it because it's like my favorite decade. But it's just kind of weird because I'm so used to people just knowing what to do all the time. Like, so the fact that I keep getting doors closed in my face, but it's not being explained why that's happening, it's kind of frustrating because, oh, so you don't want someone who's going to do a great job for your company. I don't understand. That's another thing when you go on, this is the last thing I'm going to say, when you go on Indeed or Glassdoor or just go on the websites. Like I applied for like 30 jobs. Every time you keep going through these and it says go to actual website to apply, it says in brackets, job no longer available. It's like, then why is it on Indeed? Then why is it there? Why is it on Glassdoor then? Then why? It's your responsibility to take it off if it is no longer available. Common sense. But common sense is not a thing here in Cruces is what I'm starting to get. So, anyways, that's my spiel. So far, it's been a bit frustrating, but I do still like it. I just need this job and everything's actually going to get a lot better. So, anyways, yeah, it's like what Malcolm Gladwell said. I'm a big fish in a small pond. So I'm going to have this I'm going to have this place wrapped around my freaking Thanos, gauntlet. So anyways, yeah, I'm out.